Before we start, just a quick reminder to hit that subscribe button. Only 2% are subscribed. At 1,000 subscribers, I'll be posting a special video. I almost scroll past the line before my brain slams the brakes. My thumb lifts off the trackpad like it touched a burner. I am Ethan, 32, and this is where my marriage swerves hard. One stupid word stares back at me from my wife's old messages. We are on the couch doing what our counselor called digital honesty. Basically, we dig through years of chats together and pretend that is healthy somehow. My laptop rests between us, and she keeps nudging my knee playfully. I remember thinking this assignment might actually help us feel like a team. Now I watch that same screen like it is about to explode. A minute ago, we were laughing over some ancient meme her friend sent. She leaned into my shoulder and joked that we were so boring now. I joked back that boring couples do stupid exercises and stay married longer anyway. I meant it as a throwaway line, yet it lands heavy now. If I close the laptop here, the story stops in a safe place, for now. Instead, I scroll up again and open an old group chat window. Her college friends spam that chat with gossip and inside jokes for years. Most of it reads like background noise, but I keep scanning anyway. Maybe I wanted proof that there was nothing hidden between us anymore. What I actually find is one message that will not blend into the noise. The line is from her to one of her roommates during junior year. She wrote that her boyfriend was sweet but clueless about what she did. Then there is the part my brain trips over several guys while we were together. Those words sit in the middle of the paragraph like a landmine nobody stepped around. My thumb pinches the trackpad, and I zoom in like that will change them. My chest tightens and I feel this weird buzzing under my skin. I read the line again slower this time because maybe I misread it. The letters do not move and the word several stays right where it sits. I blink once and the room feels narrower, like someone pushed the walls inward. Next to me, she is still talking about something else and has no idea yet. I cut her off without meaning to, and my voice comes out rough. Hold up, what is this supposed to mean? She turns toward me, confused at first, then her eyes drop to the screen. I watch her face change in stages like she is trying on different reactions. For 1 second I see pure panic before she smooths it over with a shrug. That old thing, she mutters, just some drama from when we were young. She taps the side of the laptop like she wants to flick the words away. You know how we used to exaggerate for each other in those days. Her tone is light, but her hand stays pressed on the edge of the keyboard. I notice her fingers tremble slightly, and that detail drags my stomach lower. Exaggerate about what exactly, because this does not read like a joke to me. I scroll a little higher and see more lines about that same weekend. Nothing there looks playful, just that quiet, casual tone people use for facts. She tells her friend she hooked up with guys while her boyfriend stayed clueless. I point at that part and my finger actually shakes across the glass. Who were you dating then, because this sounds like you were already with someone. I keep my eyes on the text because I am afraid to look up. I know the answer before she speaks, and that knowledge burns down my throat. She whispers you, obviously, then tries to laugh, but the sound comes out thin. That word obviously hits me harder than anything else on the screen. I want to believe this is some old exaggeration from before we were solid. The problem is I can picture that semester clearly, and there is no before. We were glued together that year, at least that is how I remember it. So where exactly do several guys fit inside a calendar like that? She must hear my thoughts because she rushes to fill the silence with explanations. Look, it sounds worse than it was. I was venting after a fight. We kept breaking up and getting back together, and I said things for attention. She speaks fast now, words tumbling out while her eyes stay fixed on my face. Everybody did that stuff in college, she adds like that turns it into normal behavior. I hear her, but my focus keeps sliding back to that single compact word, several. If she had written one mistake, I might have swallowed it eventually. One bad decision fits inside a story where we still make sense. Several does not sound like a slip, it sounds like a pattern with edges. I did not know yet how far that pattern went, but my body already knew. This is the moment everything tilts, even though technically nothing has been confirmed. I take a breath and decide to stop being the easy, forgiving version of myself. How many guys are we talking about? I ask, and my voice stays flat. She freezes completely this time, and the pause stretches longer than any answer could. Part of me hopes she laughs and calls me dramatic and proves me wrong. Instead, she opens her mouth, closes it again, and that silence becomes my new reality. Her answer lands so late it almost sounds rehearsed. One guy. That is all she gives me after that strange, heavy pause. The word one floats there like she expects me to grab it fast. My jaw clenches before I even decide what to believe. I keep my hand on the touchpad and do not scroll yet. You are sure about that? My voice comes out low and slower than usual, and she notices immediately. Her shoulders draw in like she is bracing for impact from her own story. Yeah, just once it was stupid, and I regretted it right away. I study her face instead of the chat window because I need something solid. Her eyes shine but no tears actually fall, which somehow bothers me more. If it was just one time, why did you type that whole paragraph? I tap the line again harder than I mean to, and the cursor jumps. Her gaze follows my finger, then flicks away like the text might burn. I was mad at you that night and I went off. She rubs her forehead like the details hurt, and she is still digging. We had a blow-up, you stormed out, I got drunk and made out. The way she compresses everything into one smooth sentence makes me dizzy. I feel my throat tighten because I remember no big fight from that weekend. You are mixing nights. I hear myself say it slowly while my brain races somewhere else. I do not remember any breakup around then, just regular stress nonsense. She exhales loudly and shrugs like memory is optional here and I should relax. College was chaos, babe, the timeline is messy in my head. That word pulls me up short and I stare at her hand on my leg. She must feel the way my muscles twitch because she snatches it back. Look, I know I sound awful right now, and I hate this. Her voice cracks on hate, and this awful part of me leans toward her. I push that instinct down because getting soft now feels like betrayal of myself. I ask for specifics because vague stories give her too much room. Where did it happen? How long did it go on? Did you see him again? The questions fall out in a row before she can rebuild another version. She licks her lips and stares over my shoulder at nothing. It was at a party off campus, I barely remember the dude. She gives a quick bitter laugh like that detail should comfort me somehow. We fooled around in a room upstairs and I sobered up halfway through. Then I kicked him out and cried alone and swore I would never tell. The way she delivers that last line almost sounds like a confession practice run. I feel this weird double reaction inside my chest at the same time. Part of me wants to believe her because the story has clean edges. Another part keeps seeing that message where she used a plural number. I realize I am grading her like a student trying to pass a test. I remind her of the assignment from therapy and how this started tonight. We were supposed to be open, not just slightly less secretive. If there is more, I need it now, not in pieces over weeks. She flinches when I say more, like I already exposed a second hidden layer. There is nothing else like that, I promise, I just panicked and lied earlier. She reaches for my hand and I let her touch it, but barely. Her palm feels clammy and her grip keeps shifting like she cannot commit. You have to understand, I was young and insecure and wasted all the time. I hear the excuses line up and I recognize some because I used them once. Underneath everything, her voice carries this small scared note that almost hooks me. I pull my hand back and set the laptop on the coffee table. The stupid homework sheet from counseling lies next to it with blank spaces. We wrote down things we wanted to discuss but left that section empty. I pick up the paper now and click the pen like a metronome. Apparently, we should have started with the damage instead of communication styles. I write 4 words in the margin so hard the tip digs in. Her hookups in college. My handwriting looks nothing like usual and that shakes me. She watches the letters appear and covers her mouth with the back of her hand. You are really taking this to therapy? Yeah. My answer comes fast that time, no stagger, no hesitation. We already paid for the session, we might as well use it. The joke falls flat between us and hangs there like bad air. She nods once, then stares at the floor like there is something written there. A part of me wants to print the screenshots and walk into that office. Drop them on the little side table and let our counselor handle this wreck. Another side wants to pretend this talk never happened and burn the assignment. I know which side used to win in our marriage, and it was not mine. This time I leave the chat open on the screen and close the lid slowly. The next morning we sit in the waiting room pretending to scroll our phones. My thumb moves over the same app icon without pressing it once. She crosses and uncrosses her legs and keeps biting one nail down to nothing. Every tiny movement feels loud because neither of us speaks on the drive here. I keep hearing that forced single number echo against the message I read. Our counselor calls us in with her usual warm voice and polite smile. We take our spots on the couch opposite her like we have before. She asks how the exercise went and says couples often feel raw after it. I glance at my wife and wait to see which script she begins with. Whatever story she opens with will tell me exactly how bad this really is. I open my mouth before she can perform. The exercise blew up. That is the first thing I throw into the room. Our counselor tilts her head a little and looks from me to her. My wife crosses one leg over the other and squeezes her hands together. Do you want to start? The counselor asks her that while I stare at the carpet. Yeah. Her answer comes fast and too cheerful for what we are about to do. My shoulders tense because I already know which version she will pick. We went through old messages like you suggested and found some ugly stuff. She gives a nervous smile and smooths her jeans with both palms. I made out with a guy once in college when things were rough. Her eyes flick toward me like she is checking if I will let that stand. My heart thumps harder because she just skipped half the landmines. The counselor leans forward a bit and rests her elbows on her knees. You found this in old chats. I finally look up and nod before my wife can soften it more. There is a conversation where she talks about other men while we were together. The word men hangs there and my wife's jaw tightens. She jumps in fast. I exaggerated there. I was drinking and venting and trying to sound wild to my friends. Her fingers twist the wedding band on her hand like she wants it off. It was one time and I already told him that. Our counselor shifts her focus back to me and waits. I feel like I am on a witness stand without notes. I tell her I am trying to understand how one incident turns into multiple in writing. My voice shakes on that word and I hate that she hears it. My wife shoots me a quick glare like I just broke some unspoken rule. Can you describe what actually happened in concrete terms? The counselor keeps her tone gentle but steady. My wife inhales sharply like she is about to dive underwater. There was a party and we had been fighting and I hooked up with someone else. She keeps it short like fewer words will shrink the damage. Were you in a committed relationship at that point? The counselor's question hits harder than anything I have said. My wife stares at her knees and presses her lips together. Yes. The word slips out so quiet I almost miss it. Hearing that out loud does something strange inside my chest. Anger spikes, but so does this pathetic relief that I am not crazy. The counselor nods slowly and lets the silence grow instead of filling it. Then she asks if there were other similar situations during that period. I watch my wife's throat work as she swallows. No. She answers too quick and notices it herself. She forces a slower breath and adds that she swore never to repeat that mistake. I notice how she avoids looking at me even once during that sentence. The hesitation between her words hits harder than the content. Our counselor focuses on impact instead of details for a moment. She asks me what it is like hearing that my partner crossed that line. It feels like the ground I built my 20s on was softer than I thought. My voice comes out rougher than usual, and I have to stop for a second. I add that I do not know where the line actually ends yet. That last piece makes both of them look at me. The counselor asks what I mean by that. I explain about the chat where she talks about more than one guy. Not every detail, just the part where the number changes depending on the audience. My wife shifts on the couch like the fabric turns sharp. I was talking trash to feel better after a fight. She waves one hand like she can fan the words away. People brag in groups and it does not always match reality. Her tone gets sharper, now more defensive than sad. I feel my jaw lock because I know that tone from other arguments. Our counselor notices the shift and steps in before we spiral. She talks about trust needing solid ground, not shifting stories. She says healing requires full transparency even when it makes you look terrible. Then she asks my wife if there is anything else that might eventually surface. My wife hesitates just long enough to make my skin prickle. No more cheating. She adds that part slowly, like she is choosing each syllable carefully. Other mistakes, sure, but nothing that crosses that line again. The counselor studies her for a moment longer than is comfortable. I feel my pulse slam in my ears while I wait for her to push harder. Instead, she turns back to both of us and outlines next steps. She wants written timelines of that college period for context. Separate pages, then compare them together in the next session. My stomach drops at the idea of laying everything out on paper. My wife nods like she just got an annoying homework assignment. When we leave the room, my legs feel heavy walking down the hall. As soon as the door closes behind us, she rounds on me. "You ambushed me in there." Her eyes are blazing and her voice is low so no one hears. I taste metal in my mouth and realize I have been grinding my teeth. I remind her this whole thing started because we both agreed to honesty. She throws up her hands and asks what else I want from her. She confessed and is getting dragged over something from a decade ago. People do worse things and still move on and stay married. There it is again, that little comparison game where I am supposed to feel lucky. I tell her I am not dragging her, I am trying not to live blind. She scoffs and says I am obsessed with technicalities and numbers. 1-3, it does not change how she feels about me now. That line almost makes me laugh because it misses the entire point. I keep my voice controlled and tell her it matters a lot to me. The drive home is quiet and packed with things unsaid. Traffic crawls and I watch her reflection in the side window. She scrolls her phone fast like she is escaping into another world. Every time her screen lights her face, I picture those old messages again. By the time we park, I know I am done relying on her version alone. She goes inside and disappears toward the bedroom without asking if I am coming. I stay in the car with the engine off and my hands on the wheel. My phone sits in the cup holder and feels heavier than it is. There is one person who might actually remember that era without rewriting it. Just thinking his name makes my stomach twist. Back then, her closest friend in that apartment saw everything. We have not spoken in years beyond the occasional like on social media. Contacting him now crosses a line and I know it. If I reach out, there is no way back to ignorance. I sit there for a full minute staring at his profile picture. Eventually I tap message and a blank chat opens. My thumbs hover while my brain scrambles for neutral phrasing. "Hey man, random question about junior year, do you remember that big weekend?" I hover again, then hit send before I can sanitize it further. Instant regret floods me and I almost toss the phone onto the seat. The dots show up faster than I expected. "Dude, long time, what's up?" My chest tightens like someone pulled a strap across it. "Nothing huge, just doing some therapy homework and trying to remember that semester." I am proud of how calm that sounds on screen. He sends a laughing emoji, then another message right after. "You two doing therapy finally, huh?" That word finally freezes me for a second. I ask what he means by that and stare at the typing indicator. I already know I will not like his answer. He replies that we always seemed intense back then. On again, off again vibes even when we called it official. I stare at that line because it does not match my memory at all. Were we on a break that weekend or not? My fingers tap the question out before I fully decide to ask it. There is a longer pause this time and my palms start to sweat. He sends one short line first. "I thought you were." Then right after it, another message arrives like he could not hold back. "Honestly, I figured you knew she went upstairs with that guy." My heart throws itself against my ribs so hard it almost hurts. I ask him which guy. He describes a teammate from his intramural group, someone who crashed the party. I remember the face now in a fuzzy way and hate that I do. My vision swims for a second and I have to blink hard. He keeps going like a gate opened. "She left with him after you bilayed that night. We all assumed you two were done again." He adds a shrug emoji that makes me want to punch something. I type slower now because my hands are shaking. Was that the only time something happened while we were together? That is the question that really matters. The typing indicator appears, then disappears, then comes back again. I imagine him reading old memories and deciding how honest he wants to be. Every second drags and my throat feels dry. Finally, a longer block of text pops up on the screen. He reminds me of a road trip I skipped because of midterms. He mentions a beach party where she was all over another guy from their circle. He writes that there were a few situations like that, not just one slip. He finishes with, "I always felt weird for you, man." I read that last line 3 times and each pass hits harder. A few situations. The phrase digs under my skin in a way nothing else has. It lines up too neatly with that plural word from her old chat. The version she gave me shrinks even more in comparison. One more question. I type slower now because I want zero room for confusion. All of that happened while she was calling me her boyfriend, right? The answer appears almost immediately, like he did not need to think. "Yeah, did you were definitely together during all that." My stomach lurches like I just dropped too fast in an elevator. I thank him for being straight with me, and he sends back a sad emoji. He adds that he thought I had made peace with it years ago. That part almost makes me laugh because I never even knew. I lock the phone and stare at my own reflection in the dark screen. Inside the house, I hear the faint thump of footsteps overhead. She is moving around our bedroom, completely unaware of this conversation. I sit there in the car while the sky dims around me. The distance between what she admitted and what actually happened feels massive. For the first time, I am not sure she has any idea how done I am. I walk straight to the bedroom without taking off my shoes. My phone is still open on the chat with her old roommate. She looks up from the bed and starts to smile like nothing is wrong. I hold the screen out before she can say anything else. Her mouth freezes halfway between relaxed and nervous. "You told me once." I tap the messages hard enough that my thumb hurts. He says more than once. The room goes quiet in that heavy way where every breath counts. I can hear my pulse in my ears and it sounds furious. She takes the phone from my hand and reads too fast. Her eyebrows jump then sink as she hits the part about the trip. He is exaggerating. She pushes the phone back toward me like it is contaminated. That guy always loved drama, and you know that. I do not touch the phone yet because I am watching her instead. Her throat moves as she swallows and her shoulders pull in tight. If he is lying, it would be so easy to look outraged. She just looks cornered. It tells me more than the messages do. I pick the phone up again and read one line out loud. "There were a few situations like that, not just one slip." My voice shakes on that last word and I hate hearing it. "You said once in therapy." Which version am I supposed to live with? We were barely together then. She stands up from the bed so fast the mattress creaks. We kept breaking up and getting back together, and nobody knew what we were. Her hands flick around in the air like she is stirring the timeline. That is her favorite trick when facts start closing in. "So we were on a break every time you wanted to hook up." The sentence comes out flatter than I planned and it scares me. She stops pacing and plants her feet like she just realized I am serious. It was messy and stupid, and I was confused and lonely. Every word paints her as the victim in her own cheating story. I ask one clear thing because I am done wrestling with fog. "While you were still calling me your boyfriend, did you touch other men?" No qualifiers, no talk about feelings, no talk about alcohol. Her eyes fill, but she keeps them open like she is daring me to break first. Her answer comes out in a whisper that still feels too loud. "Yes." She presses her lips together right after and squeezes her arms around herself. I feel something inside me just go quiet instead of exploding. "How many?" The question leaves my mouth before I can soften it. She stares past me at the doorway and counts on her fingers. That stupid detail makes my skin crawl. "2. Maybe 3 if you count that road trip thing." Her voice drops even lower on thing like it will disappear if she mumbles. There it is. Not one, not a typo in a chat, not drunk bragging. Actual separate events lined up behind my back like a little parade. I ask what the road trip thing means because of course I do. My brain already knows I will regret the answer. She talks about a weekend away with friends when I stayed home. We were fighting and I thought we might be done and I kissed someone. Then she adds they fooled around and stops short of naming what that included. She wraps her arms tighter like she can hold the words in. My fingers tingle like the blood left my hands. I tell her I heard about the beach party too. She flinches at that and I see panic flash across her face. So what did he tell you exactly? The question sounds annoyed, not ashamed. That detail bothers me more than the actual number. Enough. I do not raise my voice, but it hits like a slap anyway. He remembered more than you were willing to share with your husband. Her chin jerks up on that word like I insulted her. I realize she is more offended by my tone than her own behavior. She starts moving around the room, grabbing at random things on surfaces. I cannot believe you went behind my back to dig this up. Her voice climbs higher and gets sharper with each sentence. That is such a violation and totally out of line. Apparently my loyalty to my own sanity is now the real betrayal. Talking to the one person who was actually there is not a violation. Keeping this buried while we got married, kind of as though. I lean against the dresser because my legs do not feel steady. For the first time I say the word out loud. You cheated on me multiple times while we were exclusive. She shakes her head hard like she can fling that word off. It was not like that each time had context. We were unstable and stupid, and I was scared you would leave. Hearing her justify it in real time hits me harder than the history. I realize she never expected to be questioned this directly. I tell her I cannot share a bed with her that night. Her eyes widen like I suggested moving to another planet. You are overreacting. This is ancient history. We have built so much since then. She steps closer and reaches for my arms. I step back before she touches me, and that hurts her more than words. I grab a pillow and blanket from the closet without thinking too hard. She watches every movement like each fold is a threat. You are really going to sleep on the couch over this? Her voice cracks on the last word and actually stabs at me. I walk out anyway because staying would kill whatever backbone I have left. The couch is lumpy and short and does not matter at all. I lie there staring at the ceiling, listening to her footsteps overhead. Sometimes she stops right above me, then starts pacing again. My chest feels too tight to breathe normally, so I take slow, forced breaths. Sleep never really comes, it just blurs into more replaying. I keep running the same numbers through my head like a bad equation. 1 according to her first confession in the living room. 2 or 3 if you count what she admitted tonight in the bedroom. A few according to the guy who watched it happen in real time. Several according to her own bragging in that ancient group chat. By the time the sky starts to lighten, my mind is already somewhere else. I unlock my phone and open a browser without hesitating. I type divorce lawyers near me and hit search. Seeing the results pop up makes my stomach lurch and relax at once. It feels like touching a doorknob to a room I never thought I would enter. I do not call anyone, yet I just scroll and read short descriptions. Something about the clean bullet points feels almost peaceful. No drama, just clear services and outcomes. Every profile I tap makes what I am considering more real. I save 2 numbers anyway because part of me has already decided. Around mid-morning, she comes down from the bedroom with swollen eyes. She stops when she sees me still on the couch, half sitting up. Can we talk without you threatening to walk out this time? She stands there hugging herself like it is cold in the room. I nod once because I want to hear what she thinks fixes this. She starts with an apology that sounds tired but not fake. I was selfish and reckless, and I hate how much I hurt you. Her voice wobbles and she wipes her face with the heel of her hand. I should have told you everything before we even got engaged. For a second I almost let that line pull me back toward her. Then she adds the part that ruins her own speech. But it was college and we were a mess and I was young. She lists every excuse again, only rearranged this time. If you blow up our entire life over this, you are throwing away something good. She looks at me like I am the one lighting a match in our house. I ask her one simple question because I need to test reality. If our roles were reversed, would you still call this something good? Would you stay with me if you found out I did this to you? She opens her mouth and nothing comes out for a full 3 seconds. Her silence is the clearest answer I get all morning. She finally mutters that she is not me and would not obsess like this. I do not argue because that would pull us into another useless loop. Instead, I tell her straight that I looked up attorneys while she slept. Her face drains and she grabs onto the back of a chair. You are actually considering ending our marriage over mistakes from our 20s. I correct her without raising my voice. I am considering ending it because you lied about the scope until yesterday. The cheating hurts, but the layers of hiding make it worse. Every time you updated the story, you waited for me to accept less. That pattern feels more current than anything that happened in some dorm. She starts crying in these harsh, short bursts that sound almost angry. Then she moves into bargaining faster than I thought possible. We can renew our vows or do a whole reset or whatever you want. I will give you passwords, therapy, more transparency, anything. Her words come out in a rush like she is slamming doors against the future. I listen and feel almost nothing, which scares me more than rage. I tell her I am not making final decisions today. What I am doing is getting distance so I can think without her spin. I need a place where every object is not tied to a memory of us. She looks at me like I just announced I am moving to another country. You are not leaving. She steps in front of the front door and plants her feet. This is our home, and you cannot just walk out over ancient drama. Her hands press flat against my chest as if she can keep me there. I gently remove them one by one and feel my own hands tremble. I go to the closet and pull out a small suitcase. I toss in clothes without folding because I do not trust myself to linger. Toiletries, laptop, charger, nothing extra. Each item that goes in feels like one more step away from the version of me that tolerated half-truths. Behind me, I hear her crying harder and asking where I will even go. I tell her I will find a short-term place and text her the address. We can talk logistics later, money, schedules, everything else. Right now, I cannot keep pretending this is a normal rough patch. She begs me not to do something I cannot undo. I answer that staying and swallowing this would be the thing I could not undo. When I finally open the door, she grabs my arm one last time. Her fingers dig in and she whispers that she loves me and always did. For a second, my eyes burn and I almost turn around. Then I remember her casually counting men on her fingers in our bedroom. I walk out and let the door close behind me on that image. My phone alarm cuts through the silence and I swipe it off. I am already awake because sleep barely exists in this tiny room. The mattress creaks when I sit up and grab my phone. There are 8 unread messages from her stacked in one long column. I scroll through them with my thumb moving slower than usual. They jump from "please call me" to "I cannot believe you left." Then into long blocks about how we are stronger than this. The last one just says, "If you talk to a lawyer, I am done." That line actually makes me snort once in the empty room. She is trying to threaten me with something I already walked toward. I toss the phone on the bed and pull on clean clothes. My chest feels tight, but my hands move steady, which surprises me. On the rideshare to the attorney's office, my leg will not stay still. The driver talks about traffic and some game from last night. I nod at the right moments and stare out the window. In my head, I rehearse one sentence over and over for the meeting. When I step inside the office, my palms go damp instantly. The receptionist gives me a clipboard and a practiced polite smile. I fill in boxes with our names and the length of our marriage. Writing that number on paper feels heavier than I expected. The attorney walks in and his handshake is short and firm. He sits across from me and folds his hands on the desk. "So what brings you here today?" I take a breath that feels too big for my lungs. My wife had multiple sexual encounters while we were together in college. He nods once and asks if I found that out recently. I explain that she told a partial version in counseling. Then I mention the old messages and the friend who filled in gaps. I do not recount every detail, just the pattern and the lying. Saying it in one straight line makes it sound almost simple. He asks if there has been anything like that since the wedding. I tell him I have no proof of anything after school. He leans back a little and studies my face. "You sound more hurt by the cover-up than the acts themselves." That hits so close I actually laugh once and rub my forehead. We go over options and he keeps things clear and direct. He talks about separation agreements versus filing right away. About splitting accounts and what happens with the house. The logistics sound cold, but my brain grabs onto them anyway. Details I can manage feel safer than emotions I cannot predict. At one point, he asks the question nobody else has asked. Do you want this marriage to continue in any form? I sit there staring at a legal pad while my stomach flips. I wait to see if some hopeful picture appears in my mind. Nothing comes except her counting on her fingers in our bedroom. No. That is the most honest word I have said in weeks. He nods again and slides a retainer agreement toward me. You can still change your mind before anything is filed. I pick up the pen and feel my hand stop shaking. When I sign my name, it feels like crossing a line in permanent marker. Not angry, not triumphant, just final. He outlines next steps and what information he needs from both of us. Bank records mortgage details and a rough list of shared property. He promises to draft the initial paperwork once he has everything. Outside, I stand on the sidewalk and suck in a deep breath. My phone buzzes in my pocket while I am still exhaling. It is her again, calling, this time not texting. For a second I consider letting it ring out. Then I swipe accept because avoiding her forever is not possible. Where are you? Her voice comes through sharp and stuffed from crying. Out. I keep my answer short because anything else feels dangerous. Did you talk to someone about divorcing me? The words knock around my skull for a second before I answer. Yeah. There is a long pause where I only hear her breath. Ing. So that is it, then you are just going to quit. She sounds stunned, like I pulled a twist ending on her life. I am not quitting. I am ending something built on information I never had. I hear a choked noise on the other end of the call. She starts throwing every promise at me in one long stream. Personal therapy, couples therapy, new vows, whatever I want. I let her finish before I respond because interrupting would start a fight. I tell her I already tried building on half-truths for years. I tell her I do not trust the way she edits reality. There is a small silence and then her tone shifts colder. If you go through with this, do not come crawling back later. That line actually settles something inside me. I tell her there will not be any crawling. We talk for a minute about practical things like bills and the house. Her answers are clipped and businesslike now that feelings failed. We agree to keep using text for money and paperwork and nothing else. Back at the rented room, I drop my keys on the table. The place feels sterile and temporary and exactly what I need. I open my laptop and pull up a blank page. My fingers hover over the keyboard for a long moment. Then I start writing like I am talking to a stranger on the internet. I title the post with the same ugly line that broke my brain. New update: my wife slept with multiple guys while I was her boyfriend. Then I pour out the short version of everything you already know. The chat screenshots the counseling session, the call with her old friend. The way her story shrank every time she retold it. I am not looking for advice, really, I am just documenting. It feels weirdly calming to see the mess lined up in text. Like pinning down something that kept shifting whenever we talked. I end the post with one simple sentence. I met with a lawyer today, and I am moving forward. After I hit submit, my hands stay on the keyboard. I stare at the screen and wait for regret to hit. Nothing comes, just a slow, quiet fatigue that feels almost clean. My phone buzzes again on the mattress behind me. I ignore it and open the email from the attorney instead. He asks for copies of our financial records and a few other documents. I start a list of everything I need from the house. Old tax forms, shared passwords, loan information. The idea of walking back into that space makes my stomach twist. But getting this done matters more than staying comfortable. I text her a short message asking when she can be gone for an hour. She replies almost instantly, wanting to know why. I tell her I need to grab files and more clothes. She offers to be there so we can talk face to face. I answer that I prefer to come by alone. There is a long gap with no response from her side. Then she writes, fine, I will be out tonight for a while. The final emoji she adds looks angry and sad at the same time. I drop the phone beside me and rub my eyes hard. This is what boundaries look like, I guess. That evening I drive back to the house with my heart pounding. I half expect her car to still be in the driveway. It is not, which feels both relieving and depressing. Inside, everything looks exactly how we left it the day I walked out. I move quickly because lingering would drag me backward. I pull folders from the drawer and stack them in my arms. Each envelope feels like another small step away from our shared life. I grab a few more shirts from the closet without looking around. On the way out, I pause in the doorway of our bedroom. The bed is made and the silence in there feels loud. For a second, I picture the version of me who never checked those messages. He would walk into this room with flowers or takeout and some dumb joke. He would kiss his wife and think their origin story was solid. I feel a sharp sting of pity for that guy. Then I flick off the light and carry my boxes downstairs. Back at the rental place, I spread the documents on the table. Bank statements on one side, legal papers on the other. I snap photos and upload them to the secure portal the attorney sent. Each upload bar crawls across the screen while my chest rises and falls. When the last file completes, I feel my shoulders finally drop. I check my phone one more time before trying to sleep. There is a single new message from her waiting at the top. It just says, "I hope you are happy, ruining both our lives." I stare at it until the edges blur and my thumb hovers. Then I archive the conversation without answering a word. Lying in the dark, I listen to the quiet of this borrowed place. I think about how much of my 20s belonged to a story I did not know. About how many times I smoothed over my own doubts to keep us together. I am not proud of staying blind that long. But I am finally choosing myself instead of her version of us.